There was a time when Australian schools paid homage to the flag and honoured it. A flag Australian men and women fought and died for. A flag that carried the nation through two great wars. A flag that represents the Constitution. A flag born out of federation. A flag for the battlers and a flag for all Australians. At school, growing up, we may not have understood the significance of the ritual, but it had a very clear and unifying purpose. And whether we knew it at the time, that significance became clear as adults. The flag was the embodiment of what it meant to be Australian, the visual expression of who we were as a nation and what Australia as a nation stood for, or at least that's what we've been led to believe. But just last week, Victorians and Australians learned otherwise. Victorians and Australians discovered that as a nation, Australia is bound by two classes within the Constitution, which has been exposed by the pandemic. Not one that embodies all Australians, but two. A constitution for the judiciary, politicians and government, and another for the rest of Australia. An admission, or at least that's how it appears to be, from Victoria's Chief Medical Officer, Brett Sutton. An explanation by Sutton as to why the judiciary, politicians and government are exempt from mandatory vaccinations. A mandate government has implemented and coerced Victorians and Australians into having, and yet a mandate they themselves don't abide by, constitutionally of course. Now, if Sutton is right, and it may be one of the very few things he could be right on, then Australia's flag no longer means anything. On the very premise of Sutton's admission, Australia's flag has lost its purpose. It has lost its soul, its egalitarianism, lost the history of Australia's struggles, the embracement of ethnic and cultural diversity and welcome, history of its successes and achievements. The flag no longer embodies Australia or Australians. It now represents a class division, and that is witnessed by the lack of integrity throughout Australian politics. Just last week, the Informer editorialised on the need for a federal ICAC and why it was important. And the litany of resignations from both IBAC and ICAC investigations and ministerial failings due to corruption continues to go on and on and on. We called on IBAC to follow ICAC's lead and pursue the Premier of Victoria, Daniel Andrews, and his government. Well, IBAC is, and Andrews seems to be in serious trouble. Now, whether Andrews cares to accept he is a dead man walking or not, it is a reinforcement of his arrogance and his failure to do what is right. It's also a reinforcement of his contempt towards Victorians, Victoria and the office of Premier. IBAC has made its intentions clear. It has scalps in its sights, and one of those scalps could very well be the Premier of Victoria. Amidst the allegations of corruption and scandal that lingers like a dark cloud over the Victorian government, with ministers Luke Donellan, Gavin Jennings, Jenny Mikakos, Adam Somyurek having already resigned because of branch stacking and other issues, it looks like there could be more resignations to come. And that doesn't all go well for Andrews. Andrews should be worried, and for very good reason. And irrespective of recent headlines around whether Robert Reglick, QC, who's heading the IBAC investigation, should call Andrews to the witness box, well, yes, he must. Robert Reglick should. Andrews has been leader of the party since 2010 and Premier since 2014. He must be questioned, not only for the issues around branch stacking, but also for the Fire East dispute, for the iCook food saga, and for the hotel quarantine contracts program, for the workplace safety and deaths, and Andrews must suffer blowback that comes with his seemingly corrupt behaviour, that of his ministers and the party. Andrews has presided over all that has been rotten with the Labor Victorian government, and Andrews is not above the law, and he has questions to answer. Those answers are what all Victorians deserve to hear.